Daddy, are you making something with Milliput again?
I'm going to be showing how to make a Milliput vase using a new technique I've come up with. Stay tuned and see how I get on. I start by mounting this sapele wood blank on a woodworm screw on my easy chuck. I've drilled a pilot hole first. Here I'm just truing up the base and then using some push cuts with Robert Sorby bowl gouge just to create the nice rounded contour of the bottom of the vase. Just taking my time, doing a few cuts, a bit out of practice. I don't get enough time in my workshop. Here I'm just flattening the base, marking out ready for a recess for the chuck jaws, and I'm just using a parting tool here to cut the recess, and a skew as a scraper just to create the dovetail. Bit of sanding with my Hope Pro sander, chestnut cellulose sanding sealer, and using the aerosol version, which I really love. I've denibbed it, and then it's Yorkshire Grit original. Put loads on and then buff it and buff it and buff it, and you can see how well that comes up. I'm now removing the worm screw, and I'm using the jaws in expansion mode, but I hit a problem. With very little pressure it split. I knew I was cutting it a bit fine really. There wasn't really enough wood to use the jaws in expansion mode. So I put it back on the wormwood screw, and I'm reshaping the base to create a tenon. And it was a happy accident really, as Bob Ross would say, because I was actually much happier with the shape of the base once I'd remounted it. It was much more bowl-like, which is what I wanted. Finished it just the same. And changing it round so the jaws are now in contraction mode. Truing up the face with bowl gouge. I'm using my Sorby 3/8 bowl gouge to hollow it out now. Nice sharp bowl gouge. Very dry, dusty, brittle wood. But you can get a nice finish on sapele, but it is very dusty. Of course, wear your visor and your dust protection. I use a respirator helmet. Just a final bit of gouge work. And then using an Easy Wood Tools negative rake cutter on the inside, and a negative rake bowl scraper just for some final tweaks and finishes. Marking out a circle of plywood, which I've drilled a hole in the end, and I'm mounting a dowel in here, a 9mm dowel. And this is insulation foam, rigid insulation foam. Just marking out a couple of circles, and I've drilled them. Threading the dowel on, all will become obvious. And I'm now using some epoxy resin to put these bits of foam onto the dowel. And I've mounted it on the lathe between centres. And I'm doing a little bit of shaping and measuring, because this is going to form the core, a foam core for doing my vase. Just checking the diameter. So the bowl's now back on the lathe, the bottom of the vase. I'm just test fitting this. I did a few more little fine adjustments and then pushed it into the base. Very easy stuff to shape, this foam. The danger is overcutting it really, because it cuts too easily. But here I'm using a variety of different tools. Skews and scrapers. Just getting the shape about right. Of course it's got to be thinner than the outside of the finished bowl. This is just going to form the inside of the bowl. After sanding, I coat it in a layer of epoxy finishing resin, and this just stiffens it up, makes it slightly stronger, and gives a better surface for fixing Milliput to. We're using 3 colours of Milliput: white, black and the new turquoise colour, which is I'm just trialling at the moment. Mix each colour thoroughly for 5 minutes and mix them separately. And then roll them out between baking parchment. And then I'm layering them all together. This is a way of just controlling the random pattern. Just by going to this trouble, it means you don't have large blocks of colour that are all the same in your finished thing. So I'm rolling out the 3 colours together now, just trimming off a few bits around the side, and then I'm cutting it into strips. Just cutting it, and I cut the whole thing into strips, and then it's back out into my workshop. What I'm doing is twisting the strips that I've made, sort of twisting and then rolling them, and it creates this marbled effect. And I'm squidging it all onto that foam core, working my way up the vase, making sure I leave no voids, twisting each one, and twisting and rolling, and just keep squidging. Once it's all on there, I spent a good bit of time squidging it down, but leave it to fully cure overnight. This is the next day. We're back on the lathe and we're going to reveal the pattern underneath. I'm using an Easy Wood Tools Easy Rougher. You can see the pattern emerging. I'm doing the convex surfaces with the Easy Rougher. Then I'm using the Pro Easy Finisher for doing the concave surfaces. And the finish you get straight off the carbide tool is amazing on Milliput. You can see the pattern emerging. Just taking it down bit by bit. Being careful not to overcut it. Milliput cuts very well and it's very easy to go a bit mad and overcut it. Gradually getting the shape I want. Making sure that it is all cut back and there's no uncut areas. It's all got to be cut to round. Making sure it's flush trimmed with the wood. Then a bit of sanding, using a circular sander, pro sander, so that you don't get a ledge between the Milliput and the wood. Cellulose sanding sealer, and you can see that pattern. It's a lovely marbled pattern. Then we're on to Yorkshire Grit again. 2 coats of sanding sealer and then Yorkshire Grit. Then you work the Yorkshire Grit and it gets finer and finer. And then we're on to Yorkshire Grit Microfine. And this gives a really, really shiny finish on the Milliput. You can see the shine on that. It's amazing. I'm then cutting away the foam using an Easy Rougher to start with. Then I've got one of the little micro tools just to get in that little gap between the plywood cap and the end. Another little micro tool from Easy Wood Tools just to get rid of the foam down to the dowel. Here I'm trying to twist that dowel out, but unfortunately it broke off. So I drill out part of the dowel using a Jacob's chuck in the tailstock. And then I'm using an Easy Wood Tools No. 1 hollower just to get rid of that foam core. I'm just turning away the foam core, and then I'm hollowing down the side of that dowel without touching the dowel, and then you're just using a pair of scissors to pull the remaining dowel out. Then it's a case of just gradually cutting away all that foam, which is very, very easy to cut away. Just got to be careful not to overcut the sides. Vacuuming out the debris as I go. You can see that yellow layer of epoxy resin on the Milliput. I'll leave links to the little light in the description. There's a little light that's magnetised onto the tool rest. I'm now finishing off the hollowing with an Easy Wood Tools negative rake cutter tip. I've got rid of all of the epoxy. And then finishing the top of it with the same combination of Yorkshire Grit Original and Microfine. I gave it a little final buff with some microcrystalline wax. Doing a bit of parting off here. Use a parting tool and a saw and then sand it on the sanding machine. and then gave it a brand on the bottom. So another project finished, another Jimson experiment. Very pleased with how it went. Trying a new technique and taking Milliput to another level, really. Actually using it structurally. Well, I've done that to a degree before, but I've created an entire top of a vase out of it. Beautiful shine on that. Don't know if you can see the shine. But that was Yorkshire Grit original, followed by Yorkshire Grit microfine. And a little bit of microcrystalline wax just to finish off. Sapele bottom, Milliput top, and of course it's a proper hollow form. It's not just a bud vase, it is completely hollow. Very easy to hollow out the foam in the middle. The only slight problem I had was the dowel that I had running through the middle of the foam. I was hoping that at the end I could just twist that out before hollowing, because obviously it can cause kicks and catches if it's there in the middle of the foam. But it didn't twist out. I'd glued it in too well. Next time if I did this again, I would only put glue on the ends of the foam blocks, and on the end of the dowel I wouldn't glue all the way down the dowel. It would help you twist it out. But I could hollow down the side of it and then just pull it out with a pair of pliers, so that wasn't a problem. Really pleased with that. Hopefully it's given you a few ideas for other ways of using foam as a core. It certainly fired up my imagination a little bit, and it's how new ideas are spawned, really. But yeah, delighted with that. That's the new colour Milliput as well. That's the latest batch that Milliput have sent me, the turquoise. Really lovely colour. And I'll be making an announcement soon about when that's going to be released. This is still in the test phase at the moment. And Chris Harper got in touch with me, and Charlie, this is for you. I hope you like it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe. It helps me a lot if you do. And I'll be back soon with some more videos.
Please like, share and subscribe.
Thank you very much to all my subscribers, old and new. I've had a lot of new ones recently, and it's been absolutely amazing. Thank you very much for all the lovely comments as well. I'll try and reply to everyone. But as I said, thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon with some more videos. Don't forget to check out Makers Central. That's going to be coming next year, 11th and 12th of May. Go to the website, you can book stands and buy tickets. But I'll put all the details in the description.
More rubbish coming soon.